The Color Purple is one of those movies that is a must watch, and I regret watching it after I made my top 10 movies of 2023 video because it probably would have made that top 10 list. But anyways, here are my thoughts on this movie. As always, this video will have spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, head over to my shorts, TikTok, or Instagram and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about The Color Purple. So in this movie, we follow two sisters by the name of Celie and Nettie, but once these two sisters are split up, Celie must endure a pretty tough life and go on a journey of self-discovery until she reunites with her sister Nettie. Jumping right into the good, and I just have literally all of the performances. I mean, there wasn't a single performance in this movie where I was like, maybe they could have did a little bit better, because they were all phenomenal. Each of these actors really just dove right into their roles, and we got a good result because of it. But with that said, there was a standout, and that was Fantasia as Celie, and she made this movie hers. She was absolutely amazing this entire film, and every time she was on screen, she demanded your attention. It was cool to see her as the character of Celie as she slowly came into her own by the end of the movie. Now, her singing was obviously great, but where I think she did really well in this movie was when it came to showing emotion, because when she showed emotion, you truly felt the pain that her character was going through. And this shows in the scene where she finally stands up to Mr., and this is one of the best parts of the entire movie, and something about this scene just felt so real. I mean, they showed a shot of Taraji P. Henson in this scene where she was a little teary-eyed, and I couldn't tell if those tears were real or if she was just acting. And that's not just a credit to Fantasia's acting in this scene, because she delivered and she was phenomenal, but it's also a nod to Taraji P. Henson's acting in this scene, because I couldn't tell if it was real or not, because this scene was really just that powerful. So in my opinion, I do think Fantasia should at least be considered for an Oscar for her role in this movie, and heck, Taraji P. Henson can get a nod for Best Supporting Actress as well, because she was really good in this movie too. Now, going off of these strong performances, that kind of leads me into my next thing for the good, and that is just the characters in general. And when we get strong performances, you're usually gonna get good characters as well. And the cool thing about this movie is that each of these characters had their own little story within this movie. And in turn, this makes you care about the characters, even the ones you don't necessarily like Mr. But I will say my favorite character in this entire movie was easily Sophia. She was played by Danielle Brooks, and she kind of served as the comedic relief at some points in this movie. And I just loved how comically strong they made her when she punched someone, because when she would hit someone, they would just go flying, and I just thought that was hilarious. Anyways, just about every one of these characters grew in their own way throughout this film, and in my opinion, that only made this film even stronger. And next up for the good is the music, and I'll be honest, this music made me feel like I was sitting in a church service. I mean, the movie opened up with a full-on gospel song in mysterious ways, and I was just like, I didn't realize I came here to praise the Lord, but okay, let's go with this thing. My favorite songs in this movie probably had to be Miss Celie's Pants, or heck, you can't go wrong with Mysterious Ways. That song's just awesome. But every one of the songs in this movie had such a cool gospel vibe to them, and I thought that was awesome. Each of these songs also helped tell the story, which was cool, because that meant they weren't just singing to sing. Each song had a purpose and helped advance the story, or had relevance to what the character was going through in that given moment. And finally, for the good, I have the visuals, and I'll be honest, this is something that surprised me in this film, and I could tell that they were on location shooting this movie, which is something I can definitely appreciate, and I'll say it paid off because it looked great on screen. And with a lot of movies nowadays being shot on a stage surrounded by a green screen, I really liked that they were on location in a real environment shooting this movie, because in my opinion, that always looks better on screen, and it really immerses you in the movie a little bit more instead of having these flat CGI green screen background. Moving on to the so-so, and I only have one thing here, and I know I just got done talking about how all the characters had great stories in this movie, but for me, in my opinion, it did feel like Shug Avery, who was played by Taraji P. Henson, had something missing from her story. And this is not a knock on Taraji P. Henson at all, because as I said before, she did phenomenal in this movie. It was just just what they did with her character kind of felt like they left something out of her story. So in my opinion, a big part of Shug Avery's story in this movie was to reunite with her father after she chose to go to Memphis instead of stay in the church with him. And eventually, yes, she does reunite with her dad and everything's good, but it just felt like there was nothing that led up to that. And that's why I feel like something was missing out of that story. It was teased a little bit during the funeral of Celie's dad when she heard him talk, but after that, we just kind of got this random scene of her pulling up to the church and joining her dad on the piano. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a good scene, but when I was sitting there, I was kind of like, okay, what actions led her up to finally go and reunite with her dad and make amends? That's what I kind of felt was missing from her story. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is that even though this movie was really good, it did get off to a rough start, and the beginning of this movie was pretty choppy. This film really didn't find its footing until Celie and Nettie were split up. The beginning just felt really fast-paced and jumped around from scene to scene. It really felt like right there in the first 20 minutes of this movie, it was scene, song, and kind of repeated that until Celie and Nettie split up. But after that, this movie found its footing and it was just phenomenal from there on out. Now, the beginning wasn't terrible by any means, but if you can get past those first 15 to 20 minutes, it's going to be smooth sailing all the way through. All in all, The Color Purple is a great movie that is packed with great performances from top to bottom, with Fantasia being the standout. It tells a great story of taking your power back and believing in who you truly are, and then tops all of that with even better music. Those are my thoughts on The Color Purple. Be sure to let me know what you guys thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.